The morning air in Luang Prabang was crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and wood smoke as the highland mist clung to the valleys. The courtyard of the royal Lao capital was bustling with activity. Touby Lyfoung, only 30 years old, stood with a calm but determined expression. In the background, monks whispered prayers, their wrinkled hands clasped together in reverence. A French administrator, Commandant Joseph Tracol, stepped forward, holding an official decree stamped with the insignia of the Royal Lao Government and the French Protectorate. His voice carried across the courtyard as he read in French, then in Lao. By the authority of His Majesty, the King of Laos and the French Republic, Touby Lyfoung is hereby appointed Cao Hmong Miao, District Chief of the Hmong people in all of Laos. He shall govern with wisdom, ensure the well-being of his people, and uphold the laws of the kingdom and the protectorate. A murmur spread through the crowd. This was unprecedented. Never before had a Hmong leader been granted such official status under both the Lao monarchy and the French colonial administration. The ceremony was sealed with a basi ceremony, a sacred ritual of good fortune. White cotton strings were tied around Touby's wrists as dignitaries and officials chanted prayers, calling upon the spirits to grant him wisdom and protection. The air soon filled with the sound of traditional Lao music put on by the Luang Prabang troupe, mingling with the rhythmic chanting of monks, offering final blessings. For Touby Lyfoung, this was more than an appointment. It was a turning point, the recognition of the Hmong people as a political force in Laos had begun. Touby Lyfoung was born to a savang, or secretary, Tia from Li, were also known as Lyfoung. His birth date was recorded as August 13, 1919, at Phagna Tasseng Touby Lyfoung of Nong Het, Hmong of Hmong Kam, the Quang of Keng Khoai in Laos. However, his real birth location and date was in the village of De Monta in Pupapeng, Pak Bun, in the 6th month of the Lao calendar in the year 1917. Touby's mother was Mai Lo, the middle daughter of Gitom Lomble Yao. In 1923, when Touby was 6 years old, his mother had become depressed over the lack of love given to her by his father. She subsequently swallowed opium due to her broken heart and passed away, leaving Touby motherless and politically, causing a rift between Lyfoung and Gitom Lomble Yao. After Buckeyes rebellion came and went in 1920, the French colonial authorities had floated the idea of creating a paramount Hmong chief to oversee all Hmong in Keng Khoai province. The French wanted to survey all the various Hmong Tassengs in Keng Khoai to build consensus on selecting Gitom Lomble Yao to fill that role. Lyfoung, as savang or secretary of Gitom Lomble Yao, was in charge of working with the French to build consensus among various Hmong chieftains outside of the Nong Het region. Unfortunately for Gitom Lomble Yao, 3 Hmong Tassengs came out and opposed the appointment of Gitom Lomble Yao. Phong Li, as the translator between the French and the Hmong Tassengs, was blamed by Gitom Lomble Yao for his opposition. Subsequently, with the death of Mai Lo and the failure of Gitom Lomble Yao's appointment, Phong Li was effectively sidelined by the Gitom. The disagreements and accusations forced Phong Li to leave Gitom Lomble Yao's service as his secretary, and Phong Li thus moved out of Pak Lak, the Gitom stronghold, and into the Pak Bun district with his Green Hmong in-laws of the Gu clan. Soon, the Green Hmong petitioned the French colonial authorities in Vientiane for the creation of a carve-out Tasseng for the Green Hmong people in the Nong Het region. The French agreed to this request and divided the region of Nong Het into a Green Hmong sub-district centered around Pak Bun and a White Hmong sub-district centered around Keng Khoai, with Gitong Lumbeya retaining his title of Tasseng over this area. As you can probably reason, Gitong Lumbeya was not pleased and targeted his fury at Phong Li. The new Green Hmong Tasseng of Pak Bun was none other than Phong Li's father-in-law, Joko Gu. The rift between the Li clan and the Lo clan was permanently sealed from familial disputes and political division of power. While politics fumed among the elders, Touby grew up in Daemonda with several privileges not afforded to Hmong children of that time. Touby's father was a wealthy merchant and held political office as Gitong Lumbeya's secretary, working on the construction of Colonial Route 7 with the French. Touby and his brothers received an education from a Lao tutor named Kampan. Mr. Kampan was hired by their father to teach the kids in Daemonda. Mr. Kampan knew French, Vietnamese, Lao, and Chinese. He taught them rudimentary mathematics, languages, and shared an insight into Lao culture, paving the path for the brothers. Touby was taught Lao literary works such as Kalaket, Sin Sai, Suvanasen, Lin Tong, Sam Kok, and even Chinese epics such as the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. In 1930, Touby with his elder brother Page and two younger brothers, Tu Lia and Tum Sa, went on to receive a formal education in Siem Khoan to achieve graduation of first level. Touby and his brothers lived with the Lao Samuti family. At that time, only a few Hmong made their way down to Siem Khoan, and their stay in the city was brief. Touby and his brothers were fully immersed with the Lao culture and people. Upon achieving first level in his formal education, Touby went on to obtain secondary education in Vientiane. Touby and his Lao friends took the long journey from the mountains of Siem Khoan to reach the administrative capital of Laos. The treacherous journey Touby and his friends took from Siem Khoan to Vientiane was via Tato. One of Touby's companions on the trip was Kiao Sai Kang, a descendant of the royal Hmong Pon household. Upon reaching Patong, the boys took small boats journeying down to Pak San. Upon reaching Pak San, they took a large steamer on the Mekong River and made their way finally to Vientiane. Upon arriving in Vientiane, Touby noted that there were absolutely no Hmong families in Vientiane. Touby split from his Lao friends and he stayed with a Lao lady named Miss Vientiane, who was friends with the Samuti family in Siem Khoan. Touby and his comrades applied for entrance at the Lycée Pavis. 6 failed the exam and returned back to Siem Khoan. Only Touby and another Lao boy named Ham Phien passed the entrance exam. Though they only qualified for the special improvement class to eventually qualify them for class 1 at Lycée Pavis. Once classes started, Touby went on to live with Dao Suvarnabhuma, who was working with the Lao Ministry of the Interior as an engineer. However, Touby got into a fight with a Lao boy also living at Suvarnabhuma's home, for the Laoland Lao discriminated against the Hmong, calling Touby a Miao. Touby would move to live with a Vietnamese couple that were in charge of maintaining a local temple. Touby's stay in Vientiane was soon cut short after only studying for 3 months, as he contracted the Rivalry disease. Touby's eldest brother, Nong Het Lyfoung, would come down to Vientiane and retrieve the sickly Touby back home. In 1934, upon recovery from Rivalry sickness, Touby's younger brother, Tum Sa, graduated from level 1-2 in Siem Khoan. The pair of brothers then decided that they would obtain their secondary education in Vietnam this time. They planned on joining other Lao kids from Siêng Khoang to obtain schooling at Hanoi, Vietnam. However, as the boys made their way to Vietnam, they met a French educator named Mr. Lagat. He informed the pair of Hmong brothers that Vien had a great school too, and there were good chances for them to gain their diplomas at the Vien school, and that it was not so far from their home in Siêng Khoang province. The two brothers then decided to stay in Vien and enter the local school. The other Lao boys, Cao Sai Kam included, were journey onward to Hanoi. Touby studied in Vien for 4 years and graduated from secondary education. In Vien, the two brothers would be joined with Touby's other brother, Tu Lia. Tu Lia would bring Touby a letter from a Hmong girl named Tsai that Touby's father had arranged a marriage for her. Tsai wrote that she had to go marry someone else because she could not wait for Touby anymore. And she wrote in the letter saying that as when he returns, she will be old and he will not want to marry her anymore. Thus, she had to move on and let him finish his studies, and for them to move on their separate paths. This must have been a heartbreak for Touby. While Touby was away studying in Siêng Khoang, Vientiane, and Vietnam, there were a lot of political developments in Nong Het. As mentioned earlier, the French colonial administrators divided Nong Het into two Tasseng, one at Pak Bun and another at Keng Khoai. A Lao administrator was appointed as Nai Kong to rule Nong Het in the place of Tietong Lumbleyao, who had refused that position, feeling snubbed by the French for promises of a more paramount role in Siêng Khoang. In Pak Bun, upon the death of Tasseng Jokaku, Phong Ly took over the administration of Pak Bun. Then, in 1936, Tietong Lumbleyao passed away, and the Tasseng of Keng Khoai was given to his eldest son, Zhong Tu Lo. Unfortunately for Zhong Tu Lo, he was not ready for the task before him. He lacked the education and tact of Phong Ly and his own father. Eventually, the taxes that he was responsible for were embezzled by the Lao Nai Kong in Nong Het. The Lao Nai Kong ran away with the tax money, and Tasseng Zhong Tu Lo was held personally responsible for the tax rolls. In fear of being jailed by the French and receiving threats from the French colonial administrators, Zhong Tu Lo resigned from his position. Phong Ly reportedly stepped in to pay the overdue taxes and was subsequently left in charge of both Pak Bun and Keng Khoai. Phong Ly would make his son Li Paje as the Nai Kong of Nong Het, and Li Notso was made the Tasseng of Pak Bun. All three men were educated, and Phong Ly's two sons had a Western education. All was quiet, and the administration of Nong Het was running smoothly under the Ly family's governance. However, trouble brewed, as Giptong Lumleyao's son, Phagna Lo, was incensed by the Lys, who had taken over the rulership of former Lo family seats of power. Lo Phagna trekked all the way to the royal court in Luang Prabang to protest and press for his family's claims. Lo Phagna prostrated in front of the Upara and de facto Prime Minister of Laos, Prince Petsaret. Lo Phagna presented an oiled-up onyx-styled rhinoceros horn that was the Lo family's heirloom. Lo Phagna besieged the prince to restore the Lo family to their proper seats of governance. He relayed how Phong Ly had schemed against his father and brother, and how the Lo family were rightful heirs to the seat of Keng Khoai and their services to the Lao royal family. Prince Petsaret subsequently issued a decree to Lo Phagna, proclaiming that upon Phong Ly's death, Lo Phagna would assume the title of Tasseng over Keng Khoai. Lo Phagna returned back to Nong Het, biding his time to assume his rightful place, as Phong Ly was now a sickly old man. In 1939, Touby graduated from secondary school in Vien and returned home to the Nong Het region. Touby began working for his father in his official duties, now running Keng Khoai. Touby married Joya in a ceremony known as Ngei Jehai, or undertaking a wedding proposal ritual that was in the most formal form of marriage in the Hmong culture. Touby met his wife by chance during a 1940 New Year celebration at Nabi. Touby was a gifted poet, and he recited Gutia to a group of young Hmong girls ball tossing at Nabi. Joa was among the girls and jousted in poetic exchange with Touby. Soon after, Touby would marry Joya. Touby felt that in Hmong culture, there were 3 ways Hmong couples were married. One is the old way of bride napping, or the process of kidnapping a bride ostensibly against her will and paying a price for the bride afterward. The second way is taking a bride home first with her consent, then sending a messenger to inform the family that their daughter has agreed to marry their son, and a wedding is subsequently arranged thereafter. The third way, the one preferred by Touby, was the way he married his wife, which was undertaking a wedding proposal ritual, where a groom would bring his people, along with a Mikom Meisheng, a wedding negotiator, in a caravan of gifts for the potential bride and her family. This way was the most formal way with more ritual requirements and expect to demonstrate the ultimate respect for the young bride and her parents. The groom's men would present their proposal to the bride's family in the form of poetic jousting, and the bride's family would employ their own wedding negotiator to answer in kind. After the wedding proposal is agreed to and the bride and her parents willing, a 3-day and 3-night feast would ensue, bringing merriment and partying for the whole village, with large black hogs butchered to feed the bevy of guests. Touby happily married his wife and returned to his duties. Now, Touby's father, Phung Ly, passed away in October of 1939. Touby only got to serve with his father for a few months since arriving back from Vientiane. Upon Phung Ly's passing, there was a gathering of all the Hmong chieftains in Nong Het to choose the next Tasseng of Keng Khoai. The Hmong chieftains deliberated and debated on who the next successor should be. Shall Lo Phagna Touby assume the role that the Lo clan had originally held and be elected as the next Tasseng of Keng Khoai? Or shall it be Touby Lyfoung, a Western-educated Hmong and favored candidate of the French colonial administrators? The French were not thrilled that Lo Phagna Touby had sidestepped them and appealed to the Lao royal court in Lo Prabang. For them, Lo Phagna Touby was a troublemaker. With the French prodding, the Hmong chieftains settled upon Touby Lyfoung as the next Tasseng of Keng Khoai. The Hmong chieftains reasoned that there was a growing rift between the Li and Lo clans, and Touby could bridge the divide as he was of half Li blood and half Lo blood, being the son of Phung Ly and Mai Lo. Touby was a grandson of Gitong Lomble Yao. He would bridge the two families and bring peace to Nong Het. Thus, Touby was elected as Tasseng of Keng Khoai and left Lo Phagna Touby furious at the Hmong, the French administrators, and the Li family. Touby became the most well-known Hmong chieftain in all of Laos. Keng Khoai became the seat of power for the Hmong, and with Touby's brothers ruling Pak Ton and Nong Het, he was the driver in Hmong administration and colonial relations with the French. Any administrative issue or border disputes the Lao royal court had with Vietnam, they would come to Touby, as he was the most educated Hmong and had great ties with the Lao Blue Bloods in Siem Khoa. Most notably, Touby's childhood friendship with Giao Sai Kam of the royal Hmong Pon household. Touby would shine in the role as Tasseng of Keng Khoai and rule his domain until the arrival of the Japanese in 1945. And with that, we end our first part of the Hmong history series detailing the life of Touby Lyfoung. Join us next time as the Japanese in World War II reaches the Hmong highland. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to bringing to you and our community more history on the Hmong.